Might have to make this like just a real short one, just so that women who are seeing the corporate layoffs and that you're making these videos with that you feel thoroughly betrayed because you're like, I put a lot of effort into this company and they've laid me off. Like, that's not cool. I missed a lot of experiences in my life to put in those extra hours, and I mean, now you're getting Cats in the Cradle, that song. You're getting like, what was Dad up to? He was at work missing a lot of events of his son's life so that he could, end up, sending his kid off to college or something like that, especially, like so the kid ends up with grandkids, where he ends up with grandkids. Well, I mean, it's like that child had to have, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to try to get people to their highest potential. Not that they'll meet it, but to enable that opportunity. And people will do that for their children. They'll do anything. Men will do anything for their women and children. Period. That's the way you bred. Our ancestors bred us that way. That's one of the things nobody ever thinks about when they think about like the ideas of the right and evolution. And it's like, no, men were bred to be dutiful and to run at danger if there's children at risk. You bred us to work and fight evil. This is not a, like, that's it. I mean, like, it for real, like that's what evolution would show. Like, otherwise the men would just be eating the children. That they would be at the complete nadir. They would have been bred to just be rapacious and destroy constantly. And there's very few men really in the population who are like that. And we usually either kill them or jail them. So the red-pilled world had to face this kind of stuff. One of the things we also had to face is the money is too good. The money is just too good, and there's never a fight over dinner. There's never a fight over what movie people are going to watch. The corporate boyfriend just gives you money for all of your life. Like, you give him your life. He will give you money. And the corporate husband, the corporate boyfriend, it's an actual term in the realm of kind of this red-pilled world, the new right, the new men world. And it was an observation they saw of even their own mothers. They were like, no, my mother would do anything for her job. And it made a lot of men like start to be like, why are we working so hard? This is why you're seeing young men not work hard. They figured it out. They're like, why should I dedicate myself to a corporation? What are they going to do for me when I've seen what they did to my grandpa, my uncle, and now even my mother? So you're in a weird place now being laid off. You're in a weird place because you're seeing how mercenary it is. And now you're seeing, so now I want you to think of the nastiest burns on men on TikTok. The nastiest burns, the sassiest shit you've ever seen women say. And now that you know, well, even if you work hard, you'll get screwed. Women can't even love you. It's not they don't want to, not they're not trying. No. A man with no arms can't hang. A legless motherfucker can't kick it. You can't love men. You're not capable of love. It's just something's happened to you, very likely, that you fucked yourself up inside. So this is now this is like a real problem that a lot of you are going to be facing. Is you're going to realize, like, oh shit, like, men are like in a world of like complete and total real like everything's real, and it's cold, and it's lonely, and you have like a 48 hours of a weekend to enjoy, and so yeah, of course they're going to be into their interests and put aside dealing with little sassy girl and her sassy ways and her sass mouth. Well, now your thing is going to be, well, you're going to be on the grind to start new at a new firm. You might be in a field that they're starting to cut those budgets. Remember, men knew AI was going to absolutely break the female corporate economy. But this is, and why? Because too many men were there. They worked with you. You slowly pushed them out of the office. These guys moved on to something else. They quote unquote started their own business, whatever. But fundamentally, they understood the technology well enough. They understood what it does to know that this was going to happen, because they've seen this happen before in just with other technological innovations. See, they've seen this happen. They're in corporate America because they didn't want to get into some form of trade or manufacture or something like that, where the technology actually finally just cuts them off. Finally, eventually a technological innovation just makes them have to go out to pasture. So they went into corporate, these young men, they would go into corporate America because they're not going to be put out to pasture like many of the men that they had seen in their upbringing, as advice from their dad or their uncle: go into this, don't go into what I went into, learn to code. These would have been very young men when Learn to Code was running around on Twitter, and now they're full-grown adults, and they leave corporate America. Why? Where'd they go? Well, now as you're getting laid off, and AI is going to replace you in marketing. This is the big one. If I were in that realm of like the money, when I look and I'm like, okay, so humans did this, and I'm looking at big movies, big budgets, big movies, big marketing budgets for these, and I'm seeing how these movies are doing. I'm seeing like how when the marketing department started to try to get responses on what people thought of this, being that this was going to be $100-something million, $200 million productions. What happened? The marketing department totally and completely failed. And not just failed, ended up kind of causing a product to be made that is going to be now, like, over the last, like, about 5 years, one of the things that's happening is things that have gotten more and more culturally Marxist have not done so in a way that this was extremely clever, that like you got everybody to worship Aeon Flux, and made sure she was a cartoon character, so you could insert somebody as Aeon Flux, like a Doctor Who, and have an endless series of super amazing female spy girl who kicks ass. But people didn't understand how dope Aeon Flux was, and then that's why everything sucks. But so if I'm in this the financing end of it, and I'm looking at the best of marketing right now, and I'm like, this is what you got for $200 million? And this is what you made with $200 million. And so I'm like, so the marketing department asked people, would they go to this movie? Would they spend money at this movie? The marketing department had to have come back and said, oh yeah, people love this idea. They love this video game idea. They love this TV idea. No, really. The marketing department has said, this is great. So, big finance, these are people, they have too much to worry about. They're like, well, you're the marketing expert. All right. The customer, that's what they want. That this is, all right, here we go. Money. Here, let's how are we funding what? What are we funding? Blah, blah, blah. So at this stage, this has been building up. People knew that. People who were criticizing a lot of corporate product because anything that you're seeing all the way at the level of entertainment, that it's failing this hard. Then prior to this, around the time that COVID hits, there had been an analysis done by ReVenture Investing. And ReVenture had done this great thing of seeing, well, what firms in software had new trademarks. They had applied for new trademarks. They were applying for new patents. And was there any indication that there was like a big ask going on about trying to start some kind of, we have this product coming out. This is going to be the basis of like a whole new line of computers, a whole new line of software services, blah, 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 blah. And so they need the money to get the bodies ready to do this, trained and ready to participate in the patch notes and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. And he was saying, no. There's no indication of this. There's nothing happening in the world of software development that shows that these companies are producing something. And it ended up being true. That there was massive layoffs for years. He called this, I think, like at least about a year ago. Oh man, that's what they made this good and strong today. Called that about at least a year ago. And yeah, at least. It had to have been over a year by now. Just over a year by now. And he's like, no, all these companies, they're going to go. They're going to leave the area. And they're going to shrink their down and blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be layoffs. And then these people are going to have to sell their homes in all these places where there's clusters of software workers. There's not other economics there that can absorb all these extremely expensive homes. A bunch of us saw that there was lots of signs of this coming. I really want to now stress this because I don't want this to be like, yeah, that's right, hoes, or any of that kind of, that's not what kind of video this is. I thought this was going to be shorter. There's been a lot of men on the right who have tried to warn women because we really like girls. We like women. They're funny. We like seeing them smile and laugh, like we were charmers. So we're guys who we like the back and forth between women and men when it's pleasant and funny, and flirtation makes everybody feel a little bit sexier, but nobody catches anything. And if done right, it's witty and a little blue, and it's great, and it's our way. And so this was something that had been warned by a lot of economist people. There's some people who they just gave up. They just like, no, fuck them, let them drown. But there's a lot of guys who are like, this is going to be so bad for the economy when this hits that you got to at least try to warn women that these kind of layoffs are coming and that they're categorically going to hit them. And that's what the whole thing is that now from these TikTok posts, it is like categorically hitting women at an inordinately high level. Like, in a way that, I mean, I'm kind of surprised. There's a part of me that I was like, well, I guess we'll see. Maybe it'll happen. But now I'm sitting back like, oh damn, like hoes be losing their jobs. But it's also that, I've been seeing all the other thousands at a shot layoffs from these software firms, and now Google, and there's another one that, I can't believe it, because Lend-Lease, they're absolutely not building their campus in the Bay Area. The campus project is done, and that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot, because that's the kind of investment that it takes probably about a decade to pay off, at least. At least it would take 5 years for everything to be up, running, and pumping out services, with people regularly there. You have senior staff that are familiar with the operations, and familiar with the area, and they have their network of connections for clients and such. And I mean, just so this is this idea of California and the Bay Area will not be a viable place to do such high levels of business for another 10 years. Now, I'm just a dude who, I mostly work in food, and am at the bottom of the economy, but I watch things. I walk around where I live, and I look at my territory and try to know all the nooks and crannies of it. And so there's things I'll notice that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. No, this has moved into the area. That is moving out of the area. Then I listen for, I listen for a lot of stuff. And then also there's the issue of a lot of it kind of falls off the shelf and bumps me on the head. And so there's sometimes I'm like, no, you really should bring this up, because knowing something like this is not, it's not like, ooh, I have a secret and you're going to pay, hoes. It's like, that nobody gets anything from that. Oh, interesting. Somebody's playing music or something. Nobody gets anything from that. If this is a real trend, that there's some massive amount of layoffs in corporate America that are now going to inordinately affect women, one of the, and that it really is that just the sword comes down and there's just like, okay, there you go, and that you feel betrayal. You're just getting just an inkling of how generations before you have. I've seen this happen to your parents. This happened to your parents, and this happens to the economy in cycles all the time. That it'll have its up and then it'll have its big down, and that you all have now lived to see the down and the down and the down and the down happen over and over and over again in your economy. And you're going to have to now deal with that. And the Democrats knew this would happen. I really want you to get that. The Democrats knew this would happen. They encourage you. They are that bad girlfriend that keeps encouraging you to do things that later you're like, why do I listen to that bitch? Like, I love her, but her advice is terrible. Like, how is she alive? Her advice is so bad. And that's what the deal is with the Democrats and a lot of just so many of you women. They're like, yeah, abortion is so important, it's just such a big deal, you should lose every single other pleasure in life. You should be unsafe in the streets. Citizenship shouldn't matter. People obeying the law, fuck that, whatever. And no matter what you do in your career, nobody owes you shit. Nobody owes you even thanks. Here's your money. Get the fuck out. It's a cold. You're suddenly seeing like that the money was so good, and the feeling of the freedom and the social media makes you feel great. Social media has its own issue too that I really thought here we go. Now we know mathematically what beautiful is. This isn't now in any way, shape, or form some kind of conjecture. We now know that there's a math, everybody gets, there's math to why somebody's beautiful or ugly. And that artwork is now this controversial issue because you can't have beautiful women because it offends the ugly. I'm sorry, if you're a Democratic voting woman, this is your hill that you want your social clout to die on. This is your kind of weird, ridiculous world of things that make people vote nationalist in the long run. I can't even tell these people like how wonderful it is that they so don't get that kind of alternative lifestyle end of the left and what made video games cool, and it was the cheeky, sexy kind of stuff going on, because even women like that, and that, yeah, it just, and how, especially when people, you weren't there, you were little tiny kids, you weren't there, to see like nerd girls come into theirs as like a Betty Page style, because she had black hair, and black hair wasn't like the hot look when she was young. And so, but now when she's older and she has more style and she's filled in, she could do the Betty Page thing. And then on top of it, she's into nerd shit. So she has like some kind of thing that is like a nerd thing on, and people are like, whoa, you're like Betty Page, but you're into nerd stuff. Oh my God, and that's how, that's how a lot of women in the 90s and 2000s, got a loving husband of nerddom. And you see them, now walking around looking a little heavy, with their comic book shirts on, because they still believe in the Force. But that's how that happened, now that kind of coupling doesn't seem to happen anymore. The Force works differently now. So, but social media has done this terrible thing of giving people knowledge of this is beautiful, this is not. And there's not a way around it. It's the way humans are designed. And then when it's like, well, what do you mean design? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, no matter what you want to say, the reason why somebody's beautiful or not is because it shows certain it's the phenotypic end, or what you see of the genetics. It's what you're seeing of the genetics, what the person wants, what their ancestors want to make sure was shown from the outside, so that their genes would go on. And once you start getting into that realm, it's like, oh, this is too cold. It's cold as ice. It's, oh yeah, too cold. And so the winners and women who win have multiple children who live to their adult years and are mentally stable. Winners win. And so get mad at the way we knew this was going to happen at some point to you. But everybody's got to go through it. That's the tough part. Everybody's has to kind of go through it themselves. And also there seems to be something bigger going on as everything comes apart. I haven't figured it out. I don't think I'm going to. It's a fascinating story.